Welcome to the Roll Call Podcast. I'm Joe McGuire along with JJ Vargas and Lucas Balduck. Well, tonight it officially gets underway. The American League Division Series 2 for people who care about the National League. Exciting matchup as there is. It'll be Gerrit Cole and Blake Snell. Cole was 7-3 at 2.84 ERA this year. Blake Snell, who was coming off a really great 2019, was 4-2 with a 3.24 ERA. Didn't pitch that great all in all. I can tell you that because he was on my fantasy team when the season started, and I wasn't real pleased with what I was getting. Listen, as bad as the Yankees have been, they're 14-6 over the last 20 games. The Rays, on the other hand, a perfect 6-0. So one of the things we talked about was the Yankees averaged 5.44 runs per game. That was the fourth best in baseball, and they're only giving up 4.55 runs. But I think, and you guys will agree with me here, 5.5 runs a game is great. The problem was it was usually 12 one night and 2 the next night, and that's where you got your roughly 6 average. We saw a very inconsistent Yankees lineup all throughout the season, and specifically when they played the Tampa Rays, who they lost the season series to 8-2.
Yeah, we had a lot of inconsistency when it came to Tampa Bay. Like you mentioned, it was really a roller coaster ride. But I give that a lot of credit to both managers. You know, they both play chess with each other, and it really shows in these matchups when the scores could be so lopsided. But you know, in this series against Tampa Bay in a playoff game, I really do think that Aaron Boone has the experience and the upper hand to win a 5-game series against this Tampa Bay team that we've had trouble with in the past.
Yeah, obviously, the Yankees bats have to come alive. But that was a great point to bring up, JJ, is the managerial experience here in the playoffs. I think Aaron Boone definitely, obviously, has the upper hand. He's taken a team to a AL championship series and was, we could say he was robbed after the Astros got caught cheating of a World Series berth. Who knows what would have happened if we made it? But yeah, I like the Yankees in this series. I think that their bats came alive in the wild card series, with the exception of Aaron Judge, who still needs to step it up. But I think offensively we looked really good, and if our pitching outside of Cole and Tanaka can come through and be top notch, I think we have a great chance to win this series.
I can't talk enough about playoff experience, JJ, and how important I think that is. And I think as you look around some of the other divisional series matchups, the Dodgers easily took care of Milwaukee. I was surprised San Diego outdid St. Louis. That one for sure I didn't see coming. But those young kids out in San Diego, boy, they are really good. Meanwhile, the Braves last year were in it. They beat the Cincinnati Reds. I wasn't surprised by that at all. This one is another one I was a little surprised by. The Marlins took out the Cubs. Certainly didn't, boy, we've been talking a lot about the Marlins this year just because nobody expected them to be anywhere where they've been. And my goodness, all they've done is be successful this season. So kudos to them. That's going to be a tough series for them to win. And then the last one, and before we really get into the Yankees, I want to talk about this series for a minute. Now, Oakland outlasted the Chicago White Sox, and I said that going in. As a matter of fact, I believe it was 3-0 in the second inning when I told Lucas Oakland was going to come back and win it.
Yeah, I think he owes me
$8. You owe me $8, and I think JJ owes me a left Twix bar. So I feel
I get a left Twix. I won.
Okay. Meanwhile, this is the series I had my eye on, was the Houston Astros Minnesota Twins. And it was another situation where you had 2 playoff teams from last year. And the team that ended up winning that series was the team that had been to the postseason the last 4 years. And so, again, I think Minnesota in the next couple of seasons, I think they'll get their shot. I think they'll get a little deeper into the postseason. But they were playing a much better Houston team that's without Gerrit Cole, without Justin Verlander, that didn't have garbage cans this year, so had to hit like big boys, had a losing record. But here's where I'm at with this series. And we sort of talked about this the other day, and you guys weren't really with me on this, so I'm going to try it again. it's important to me that the New York Yankees, I don't care about Oakland. I don't care about Oakland at all.
Oh,
I want to slap Tampa Bay around. I want Houston in the American League Championship Series because I contend this will also tell you who the 2017 champion should have been. And I want, on the other side of that, for those LA Dodgers to be sitting there waiting because I want to have a rematch of what 2017 should have been and what 2020 will be. Are you with me?
Joe. I don't know, man. As much as, the shortened season, obviously, it took away the Astros. It took away them having to face any fans at away games at all, which is bull crap to me. Second of all, they were supposed to make a trip to Yankee Stadium, and I think they would have gotten wrecked by the fans there. So while I do miss or do regret how the Yankees didn't have a chance to face the Astros in the regular season and show them who's the big dog, I don't know. Just rooting for them to win another series that they don't deserve to win. It's hard for me, and I think I know JJ feels the same way.
I did feel the same way about you. I remember last week we talked about it, and I just wanted the Astros to fail. But after I slipped about it, I said, you know what? Joe was right. How great would it be to see them go all the way to the top to then crash and burn to our hands? Yes, Joe. Have them be there. We could sweep them. That would be best case scenario. But, oh, man, would it be good to whoop their ass, man.
Vindication, right? Vindication. Right. Oh, man. I like Oakland. I respect Oakland a lot. And the Yankees in Oakland, assuming that this would be a great series. And I think baseball would be pleased with it. But that's not who I want. No.
The ratings would be a lot better for those Yankees.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, I'm telling you, it is especially if the Dodgers do their thing and these teams get all lined up. Oh, yeah. How could you not want that? How could you not want Houston? I'm just saying like this. You just imagine they're in Houston. Yanks are up 3-1 of the series. Gerrit Cole's on the mound. He throws 9 shutout innings. The game ends. He puts his hands up like this. They hand him the ALCS champion MVP trophy, and then we go take on the. How amazing would it be for the Yankees to clinch their playoff berth with Gerrit Cole on the mound in Houston?
I will say, even though the game won't be in Houston, obviously it's going to be wherever they're holding the ALCS this year. I'm not sure if it's still Petco Park or something else. But you know what, Joe? I'll give you this much. I'll say if the Astros are to make it to the ALCS, I'd like that series more than the Oakland series because it would be awesome to see them whoop some Astro ass. But in no way will I watch these because I'm probably going to watch the Astros and Athletics games, and in no way in any of those games I'm not going to be rooting for Houston. So that's what I disagree with you in rooting for Houston to advance.
Okay. Hold on. Let me change it. Let me just do one better then. Watch this series rooting against Houston, and if Houston wins, it'll just give you more fire. See what I'm saying? True. You'll hate them even more. It'll be all the more reason you'll want them there.
I agree. Seeing Gerrit Cole in a closeout game striking out his former teammates, that would be pretty damn sweet. I would say that.
It really would. I just feel like given all that's happened, given all that's been said, given all the junk that the Astros have talked in the aftermath of all that happened, I want that in the worst way. I want that to happen, and I want to walk away feeling really good about myself. That's what I want. Now, tonight is the first time, believe it or not, that the Yankees and the Rays will play each other in a postseason series. It has never happened before.
Wow.
And, yeah, I know. Amazing. This team's been in the league since 1998. Yankees were outscored 47-34 in the season series, 2-8 against Tampa. But you might not realize this. the Yankees only had their healthy lineup twice in those 10 matchups. So in reality, this team has never seen this New York Yankees squad that they're going to be facing tonight. And I think, where again, a lot of people were quick to, well, Shane Bieber is so good. What are the Yankees going to send out there? The second best pitcher in baseball? I think tonight the Yankees have a marked favorite in tonight's pitching matchup with Gerrit Cole on the hill against Blake Snell, who the Yankees have historically slapped around.
That's a good point, Joe, with the Shane Bieber thing. Like, oh, what are the Yankees going to do against him? 4 pitches in, Shane Bieber's down 2-0. So I feel like it could be a similar situation for Blake Snell, someone we're way more familiar with than Shane Bieber. And I think the way, I don't know if you guys remember, but there was a quote from Blake Snell that said, every time Aaron Judge steps in the box, he smiles at Blake Snell and tries to make him laugh. And Blake Snell just can't even look at him because he doesn't want to smile back at his rival. I think Aaron Judge somehow has that mental advantage against Blake Snell. So I'd love to see Judge smack a home run out on Blake Snell, especially like he did on Bieber 4 pitches into the game.
Yeah, I think you made a good point on Aaron Judge. And once again, the spotlight is brightest on him because just like he had pressure on the last series, this is his series to take over as well against a AL East rival that's made it this far into the season. We're going to need big contributions from Aaron Judge if we're going to win this series, because I think we could all acknowledge that it's going to be a hard-fought series and runs are going to be hard to come by, especially in this game 1 with the pitching matchup set as it is. And the other side, we do got Gerrit Cole. I think that if we could get 5 runs, I would say, I think we could win this game tonight and take game 1 as a win.
That seems about right. That feels about right. Now, again, I think it's going to be, and I mentioned this the other day, I think it's important, and they did it against Cleveland. They've got to do it here against Tampa Bay. I think even more so with Tampa when you look at the kind of team you have there. You got to play the good fundamental baseball. You did it so far in Cleveland. The Yankees did it in the postseason last year with Minnesota and with Houston. As soon as you start giving up extra outs, as soon as you start kicking the ball around, throwing the ball around a little bit, getting thrown out on the base paths, guy trying to go to third on a single to right gets thrown out. That's when you find yourself in trouble. Yeah. When you either give the other team more outs or you run yourself out of an inning by getting thrown out on the base paths. Again, I think the Yankees play solid defense. I think if the Yankees, again, no base running mistakes, I think the pitching and the hitting is going to be fine. I think the bullpen's definitely rested, if nothing else. And I think the Yankees go into this series, you got to really feel good about yourself. And as I've been saying since this started, you got to the postseason, it's 0-0. All the numbers from the regular season, which was a weird season, go right out the window, JJ. This is a whole new ball game where you're starting from zeros. Doesn't matter what happened in the regular season. What matters now starts tonight at 8 o'clock.
Absolutely. And I think I'm saying the obvious, but I think it's a big key for the Yankees in this series. You got to win game 1. You have to. You got Gerrit Cole out there. And as easy as it sounds like it's a lock, you do got to put up the runs to make sure that he gets the win, that he's going to work hard to get you. This is why you went out to get him. This is why you pay him the big bucks. He's the most highest paid player in the MLB, and he showed his value already in the game he pitched against the Indians. I think we can expect something similar to that, maybe not as dominant, seeing as the Rays are familiar with Cole a little bit in this season. But you have to win game 1 to get yourself ahead and not be behind the 8 ball behind these Tampa Bay Rays.
Yeah, I'll 100% agree with that. Winning game 1 needs to take top priority for the Yankees because 1, they're sending out their best guy. They're sending out Gerrit Cole. And 2, if you don't win game 1, and then it turns into, oh, well, you got to win game 2. And then if you don't win game 2, then it's like, oh, well, you have to win game 3. So you just don't want to build that like impending sense of like you have to win every single game with the most urgency, which the Yankees should already. You just don't want to put that extra pressure on yourself. It's unnecessary. So a game 1 win is very crucial here, JJ. I'll agree.
So it is Cole and Snell in game 1. Masahiro Tanaka does line up for game 2 against Tyler Glasnow, who was 5-1, a 4.08 ERA. Tanaka 3-3, a 3.56 ERA. And I love Masahiro Tanaka. Everybody knows how much I love that guy, and I'd love to see him come back next season. If there's one thing about Masahiro Tanaka that we've seen, it's the inconsistency. I'll say this: look, he got himself into some trouble in Game 2,
But I don't really blame him, though. Look at the
no. Listen, and what I was going to say too, JJ, is here's the thing about him. He got in a little bit of trouble. He ended up giving up 6 runs. 6 runs got charged to Tanaka. It's not often your pitcher gives up 6 runs and you go, great performance by that guy. But when you consider how easily this could have become you could have seen Loaizaga in the second or third, and who knows how Game 2 might have played out. Because that was my thought going in, was I think if this team falls behind, they go to Loaizaga, and they're going to hold off on the big guns in the bullpen, and you go all in on Game 3, and you try to win it that way. And as it was, they didn't need that. Tanaka settled down, JJ, which you had pointed out pretty quickly via text that night, that he really seemed to kind of calm himself down for the –
he left the game on the upside. They were leading 7-6 when he left the game.
Yeah, so – amazing performance. I would expect a better outing. He has always pitched really well against Tampa, and he's always pitched well in the postseason. All the reason in the world to think that that's got to be a favorable matchup for the New York Yankees. Game 3, Charlie Morton, who I still don't understand how the Yankees have not gotten this guy over the last few years, went 2-2, a 4.74 ERA. He'll face Jay Happ, who was 2-2 with a 3.47. But consider Jay Happ's ERA at one point was nearly an 8. The fact he finished at a 3, no kidding. The fact he finished at a 3.47 and went undefeated in his last 7 starts is almost hard to even fathom the turnaround that this guy had. But again, you look at this series, the Yankees have really good matchups here in 1, 2, and 3.
I agree, especially if they could jump up to a 2-0 start, which will take the pressure off of Happ, where he would just feel like he's playing with house money at that point, which he should have, because there's a lot of money on the table right now as a Yankee fan. He can't feel like he can just go out there and throw bull jive pitches. But, it will be good if the series isn't, let's say, worst case scenario, 0-2, and he needs to pitch out desperation, or even at a 1-1 break where, the winner of that duel will go up in the series. So, like I said, best case scenario is 2-0, so he could throw freely in that Game 3 if it comes to Happ.
Yeah, I think definitely if we go up 2-0, that's the best case scenario for Happ. But also, if it's 1-1, I'm not necessarily worried, because I think that one loss would come in the Tanaka start. I don't think Gerrit Cole's going to lose tonight. And the length that Gerrit Cole can go in a game, I think he'll somewhat save the bullpen. Yeah. And, I mean, I could see us throwing Chapman out there, but he's not all we have. We have a star-studded bullpen. So I can see J Happ start being short if necessary, if he gets into a jam. But I also see us having somewhat of a rested bullpen for a Game 3 if Tanaka slips, and then we just throw like an inning eater in, like Loaizaga.
Yeah. Again, look, I think if you're the Yankees, I think there's nothing you don't feel good about going into this series with. Like,
well, you know why that is? Because we don't have to play at Tropicana Field.
Yeah, for sure.
and that's really a big point in this series, the fact that neither team has home field advantage, and it's at San Diego Park. Is it San Diego Park?
Yeah, Petco, yeah.
Petco, yeah.
So that works on both sides, because we all know that Tropicana Field with those bars up top is the worst thing in MLB. It really is. They got to fix that.
One thing before we I don't know what you got on tap, Joe, but I was gonna ask you guys. I had a question for you guys. I don't know if the lineup's been released yet. I haven't looked. Has it?
I have not seen it. I have not seen it released as of yet, but you know what? Let me jump on Twitter, because Twitter always comes through.
Yeah, right. Usually, and if it's not Boone runs it by us first, and then he sends it out.
If there's no lineup out yet, I had a question for the both of you.
Well, hold on a minute, because while the lineup for tonight is not out, there actually is some changes been made to the
roster?
28-man ALDS roster. And in this case, it looks like Eric Kratz, the backup catcher, the third stringer, has been bumped in favor of Michael King. Otherwise, it looks like it's the exact same roster with the exception of Kratz for King. So going a little more pitching.
Nice.
Okay.
So my question was, before the lineup comes out tonight, I had seen some conversations going on about who do you start in left field tonight against the left-handed pitcher, and that question was Clint Frazier or Brett Gardner. I wanted to hear you guys' thoughts and why you think one should start over the other.
If you don't mind if I go first, Joe, I say Gardner, ALDS, big stage. You put the seasoned veteran out there that knows what he's doing, at least to start the game.
Look, I think you've been looking for a spot to have Clint Frazier start. No better opportunity than with a left-hander. And again, one of the knocks on Frazier can be his defense. But again, you're not playing at Yankee Stadium. You're not playing in Tampa, so you're playing in a left field that's a little more conducive to a guy who's not exactly a defensive superstar. Guy didn't get a chance to bat in the American League Wild Card Series. And again, JJ, I understand why you'd want to give Gardner the start, almost kind of a ceremonious. This really might be his swan song. He certainly played well enough in the Cleveland series, but I think with Boone's affinity for the lefty-righty matchup, if he's not feeling nostalgic for Gardner, then I think Frazier would make more sense in this game. But since you're probably starting Kyle Higashioka as the catcher, so you're taking Sanchez's bat out there, it makes me wonder if you're willing to take another regular route. So definitely some considerations. I think Frazier makes more sense in there against Snell, but again, I wouldn't be angry if they started Gardner. I think either way, you're going to get a pretty solid left field.
I think so my answer, I guess, I'd go with Joe. I'd throw Clint Frazier in there to start the game. I think that getting those few at-bats from a guy who, his bat speed league-wide is talked about and who has obviously some pop, he can hit the ball out of the park. I think getting those few at-bats for him at first is good, even if it's just two. And then defensively, if he looks a little shaky, you can throw Gardner in there and then have Gardner get at-bats, potentially against some right-handed bullpen pitchers. So I think going with Frazier first and possibly putting in Gardner later in the game would be the better plan for the Yankees tonight.
I get your point, but if you do that to Clint Frazier, you're shaking his confidence that way.
I wouldn't disagree with that totally, JJ. I see what you're saying.
You go with the safe bet. You go with the veteran who's been around the league. You're not playing at home. If you're at Yankee Stadium, then I get, maybe you could take a risk with Clint Frazier out there because it's his home field. I get it, but you're going to be in San Diego Park. That's not your everyday field that you're going to be in. Put the guy that's been there, done that.
We'll see.
You're right.
We'll see what happens.
I'll agree with that.
I still think it's going to be Frazier, but that's just me. Did you guys see the grand slam? You remember the grand slam that Didi hit in Game 2 of the ALDS last season for the Yankees? Mm-hmm. I was just watching a video of it with a really hilarious comment. Mind you, the Yankees were up in that game 3-0 in the third inning when it happened. If Stanton had hit this with a 3-0 lead, Yankees Twitter would have been like, garbage time grand slam. That home run, they were already up in the game. I mean, people act like Didi hit a walk-off grand slam. It was a third-inning grand slam when you were already up 3-0 against the team you had been dominating for a decade. So is there any truth to that? Does Giancarlo Stanton have to do something extra special? Does he need a walk-off grand slam or some kind of monster hit to finally bring these fans into the Stanton camp?
You know what it is, Joe, and I think we could all agree with this. Maybe it slipped by me. Maybe you guys could clear it up for me, but I don't think that Giancarlo Stanton in this long tenure that he has already with the Yankee has earned a Yankee moment. I can't recall one. Hasn't been in a playoff moment big enough and made something happen for me to remember, like, oh, that's the game that Giancarlo did that. In comparison, the young guy, Gio Urshela, just hit a grand slam, in this previous series against the Indians actually turned out to be huge as they ended up winning the series. So I feel like a guy like Urshela earned his stripes in a game like that. Stanton hasn't earned his stripes yet for most fans, I feel, and everybody just loved Didi. Didi was like the neighbor that had the burgers on a Sunday and invited you over for a beer or something. Like, he's just that kind of guy. He's easy to like, that Didi Gregorius. And we love him even as a Philly. We always wish him the best. But, yeah, it's just that Giancarlo just hasn't had his Yankee moment, and because of how much he's paid and the expectations that's on his shoulders, he hasn't delivered that yet. That's why he hasn't gotten the love that he feels that he might deserve.
Lucas, what does this guy got to do to win the fans?
I think, sadly, it has to be something huge, like a
5
3-run,
for 5 home runs, 13 RBI.
Yeah, doing something insane, which
So he's got to be Superman, basically.
yeah, it's unfair, to be honest. I think the guy's phenomenally talented. I mean, the dude might hit a home run and strike out twice, but that's good enough for me. Not most Yankees fans, though.
No, because the next day they're like, he struck out twice, though.
Yeah, right. He hit a 3-run home run, but he struck out twice, so what's that even mean? I mean, the guy gets a lot of hate. I mean, mostly I think it's because his monster contract and the season he had before coming to New York where he hit 59 home runs kind of set the bar a little high. I mean,
let me ask you this then, because I've talked about him a whole bunch, and I think initially you guys didn't like what I was saying, but speaking on Aaron Judge. Now, Aaron Judge eventually is going to have not only the same build, body, and style of play as Giancarlo Stanton, he'll eventually get the contract too. Assuming it's from the Yankees, at that point, when Aaron Judge is making $20 to $35 million a year, whatever that final number ends up being, will the fans go harder on Aaron Judge if he's making like $250 million? Is that gonna?
Nope.
Is it? Because if it's the money and the expectations, then at what point do we say, well, come on, Aaron Judge?
Nope. Aaron Judge, we raised him as a baby, and we will always love him. He's Yankee born and bred. We can't hate him. Just like if Glaber were to go sour grapes, we saw him grow as a baby. He's one of ours. Doesn't happen. It's a different affection. When you come here via free agency or if you came out through the farm system, we've seen you grow and develop. We love you. When you come here via cash, there's expectations.
It's funny you say that because I think to myself, the greatest Yankee of all time, Babe Ruth, came from the Red Sox. It wasn't a homegrown product.
That's argued.
Reggie Jackson, another great addition to this Yankee team. Roger Clemens, Mike Messina. I think if you look at some of the great Yankees, they were in other places. And I understand, look, I feel the same way, JJ. Nothing gives me more pride, and it's why I'm glad Brett Gardner isn't going anywhere. And same with Bernie Williams when the Yankees told Bernie Williams in 2000 that they were moving on without him. The Red Sox made a play for Bernie, and he was like, no, if the Yankees, then forget it. You know, and that's what you want to see, and that's what you expect. I'm not sure that Giancarlo Stanton, Giancarlo can hit 340 next year with 50 homers. I still think people would find stuff to be upset about. I still think people would find things to get angry about. And I guess I'm just curious why. And do you guys even think that there is something that Giancarlo can do that will change the perception around him?
It's the postseason playoff moment that he needs. He doesn't have one.
Well, he's already hit home runs in the first 2 games.
Well,
I mean, right?
But
he's still homered in both games and barely got a mention. I mean, barely got a mention from anybody in the media as far as coming through twice. I don't understand it.
Do it late when it's memorable. I get it. I'm a Giancarlo Stanton fan too. I see them. I notice the home runs, but they're not memorable. They're really not memorable. You don't remember them at the end of the day because usually when he hits one, usually 3 or 4 guys already smacked more meaningful home runs.
Sure, but so how come last year's tack-on Didi Grand Slam a year later, it's not even with the team, and we celebrate it now. I've seen that thing all over Twitter today. Everybody's on the Didi train, and it's like, but then we have a guy right here that hits bombs, and nobody cares. I think here's the problem. I think Giancarlo has played so little in the two years he's been here now that I truly don't think Yankee fans appreciate how good he is and what kind of ability he really brings to the table. I don't know when they're going to come around on this guy, and I don't know what he needs to do, but I hope it happens.
The Didi and go ahead.
No, it's all right.
I had the answer. But
Go ahead.
Somebody give it to me because I'm dying to know.
All right. The Didi versus Giancarlo Stick thing, it's a simple answer. It's the physique thing. It's like when you see LeBron dunk the ball compared to Spud Webb. There's just a more wow factor that Spud Webb could dunk the ball. You talk about Giancarlo Stanton, his physique, he's meant to be hitting home runs. How much was Didi's career high home runs in the season? 22, 24. He's a guy you don't expect the big shot from every time. Giancarlo Stanton, you expect it. It's kind of home run or bust, so you kind of feel it coming from him. So when Didi does it, it's like, oh my God. When Giancarlo Stanton hits a home run, it's like, oh, about damn time. That's the effect.
Joe, I feel like your answer, the answer that might be true, especially for stubborn Yankees fans, might be Giancarlo might have to win a triple crown before he gets the respect of some Yankees fans.
He still made 400 outs this year, though. I mean, I think they'll find a reason. They would find something I don't know. And it's funny. Being Italian, just I look at Giancarlo Stanton and I think, guy looks awesome. I could be like best friends with that guy. He seems like a cool dude. And I feel like fans not only don't like the fact that he's missed so much time or that he hasn't hit 50 home runs as a Yankee. I think they don't like him. I don't think they don't like him because he bench presses supermodels and that pisses people off. Because he makes $32 million a year, I think that makes people mad. And I guess my bigger point is I don't think there's any. I think he could single-handedly win this series. I think Giancarlo Stanton in this 5-gamer could hit 8 home runs with 13 RBI and a 450 average, and I still think there'd be fans that'd be like, I don't know. Not quite convinced. See him do it longer.
If none of them are a walk-off, it won't matter. If you don't I'm being honest. I'm just
going to say, that's JJ being straight up honest right now. Like, there's little Stanton can do. Yeah. They better be all walk-offs or I'm not interested. That's where this guy's at. It's unfortunate.
At least half of them. At least
he hits 1 home run for me, and I'm sold on the guy. I love it.
Oh, dude. 2 home runs against Cleveland, and I was like, Giancarlo's back. Woo! And everyone else was like, nah, I don't know. By the way,
that's the moment.
You guys
gotta have a moment.
Yeah. Oh no, I know for sure he's got to have a moment, and let's hope to God he has one. Now, you guys might remember this moment.
Oh yeah.
And this isn't even the Chapman game.
Yeah.
This is actually a different game that these two teams played, where the same thing happened. Obviously, the Chapman game was a whole animal unto itself. I find it interesting, though. I don't know if you guys have heard, but Aroldis Chapman said it about 10 times that he wasn't throwing at Ben Broussard.
Yeah.
And you would think with the tension and this rivalry and the fact that Chapman's insane a little bit, that he'd have been like, I did it. He's been adamant. The suspension got kicked because of the appeal.
Yep.
He really feels like he didn't do anything wrong. Well, the fact of the matter is, these two teams hate each other. Kevin Cash, after that game, suggested he wasn't going to put up with it anymore and then reminded everybody that he had a stable full of guys that throw 98 miles an hour. Aaron Boone didn't appreciate that. I was watching an interview yesterday where DJ LeMahieu basically said, not cool, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
This is the playoffs. I think these teams are both smart and classy enough that I don't think you're going to see any of the extracurricular. I think you're going to see a clean series. I think you're going to be able to tell it's two teams that don't like each other. I think that for sure, but I don't think there's going to be any funny business. I think the funny business probably happens come April 2021.
I agree. I feel like at this stage, neither team wants to lose a player due to some silly on-the-field incident that doesn't need to happen, especially in an unprofessional manner. You know, whether they're the bench is clear or somebody hits somebody, they know that losing a player in a series of this magnitude could cost a game or more.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't think you'll see any violence per se in this series. What you are going to see is some raw emotion. You're going to see when these guys do something good against the other squad, like a strikeout for
Oh,
Gerrit
yeah.
Cole or a home run with a big bat flip. I think you're going to see some emotion, and these pitches and these hits, they mean more to these guys, knowing that they're playing a bitter rival.
By the way, Gerrit Cole did face this Tampa team last year in the American League Division Series. He was 2-0 with an 0.57 ERA, 1 run in 15 2/3 innings, and he struck out 25.
That makes me feel a lot better. Yeah.
Again, I know he didn't have a great regular season this year against them. When he's faced him in the postseason before, he's elevated his game and certainly has dominated that team. Again, look, you guys know me. I'm a Giants fan. The Giants suck. They're the worst team in football, and I can easily admit that. I can readily admit that. I'll even tell you, I'll take it a step further. My CMG fantasy football team sucks. It sucks. I know I might not win 4 games this year. I'm as bad as the Giants are.
I can't say the same about that. My team is pretty damn good.
You're hilarious. I can subjectively look at my team and honestly give you an assessment. And I look at the way this Yankee team is playing right now. I told you they coasted in that last week, 2-6, they coasted. Shouldn't have done that. It didn't make anybody feel good coming off a 10-gamer. But here we are. The Yankees did such a great job in that Cleveland series. I mean, not only putting the bat to the ball, but just playing an all-around great game, getting good pitching, getting timely hitting. Just it felt like one of those Yankee postseason runs that you've become accustomed to, that they're going to bring their game to the next level. That's what I saw against Cleveland. I don't expect it to be any different against Tampa Bay. I just don't.
Yeah, I saw grit in this Yankee team. I think that's probably one thing you didn't mention there. It's like the resilience of this team, seeing that they were going down, they would exchange leads back and forth, not giving up the game easily. Not thinking, oh, no, we have one more game to make up in game 3. No, we're up a game. Let's close it now. That showed that real tough mentality there, and I think that they're going to carry this on also to the series, as Joe had mentioned.
Yeah, going a little more off topic, kind of league wide here for everyone who's left. I don't know if you guys noticed this, but all the division series matchups are division rivals. So I think that adds an extra bit of the rivalry taste, because these teams have faced each other all season. They've all seen each other. This isn't like last round where the Yankees hadn't seen the Indians all season. These are all people who know each other, and it's going to make it even better for TV ratings and baseball and stuff like that. I think it's going to be great.
I got to be honest, Lucas, I think I completely overlooked that. I really, honest to God, I mean, as I put these graphics in today, I don't think that stood out to me at all, as much as I was looking at it more like I said. I'm seeing teams with playoff experience did better than teams, generally speaking, than teams that didn't. But yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, my goodness, these matchups are fantastic. I mean, baseball's got to be thrilled about what they've got going on right now. They really do. This is great. And here's the other thing too. Look, if the Braves, Marlins, or Padres are the teams in the NLCS, those are just 3 super young teams too.
Good.
I understand if you haven't followed the Braves much this year. That's a really young team. The Dodgers, obviously, market number 2, big market team. You know everything about them. Yankees, Tampa. I think Tampa's probably the least sexy team in this entire out of this entire 8 teams that are left in the division series. Yeah, I think Tampa's.
Tom Brady is now in Tampa, so they got a little more pizzazz in Tampa.
Yeah. Might take more than Tom Brady to get pizzazz back in Tampa, but I see what you're saying. Yeah. But I think if you look at again, because I think you look at Tampa and everybody thinks of Tampa as small market losers, and I've cautioned against this time and time again. This is a really good franchise that spent a long time being bad so they could become good. Yeah. They know what they're doing. And I think it's time people stop disrespecting the Tampa organization and acting like it's some minor league and you're shocked every time they win 100. They've won a lot of games in the last 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
It's like time. Let's get over the idea that Tampa sucks.
Yeah.
Because those were back in the old days.
Yeah.
It's gone now. This is a really good organization. I still don't think they're sexy. I think if of the 4 American League teams, Houston, Oakland, the Yankees, and Tampa, if you're Major League Baseball, you got to be looking at it. You're kind of hoping no to Houston for obvious reasons. But I think you're looking at those 4 teams, and to me, the one team that doesn't do it for me is Tampa. I think if you look at the National League, those 4 series, you either got the young upstart Padres, you got the Dodgers. We've been waiting for them to win that World Series after 8 years. The Marlins coming out of nowhere, or this great young Atlanta Braves team that has had nothing but injury, devastated pitching staff all year, and yet here they are. So some really cool series. And again, maybe this is just me hating on Tampa. Maybe other people think Tampa's sexy. I just kind of don't. But I think if you're baseball, I think you got to feel really good about your postseason. You haven't had any COVID issues either. NFL finally is dealing with some COVID. So even on that front, and you're moving into a bubble, baseball is got to be feeling great about itself.
Yeah, and that's what you were saying, Joe, about the Rays. You can't really sleep on them anymore, and how they've been kind of successful over the last 15 or so years. Besides the Yankees, Dodgers, and Astros, they're the team to make the World Series most recently. Besides those teams, and they only made it a year before the Yankees' last championship was. They made it in 2008. So they have, the fans know what it's like to be in the World Series. The players might not, but it's a familiar scene for at least the ownership of the Rays. They know how to win playoff series for sure.
And let me caution my Red Sox fan friends. The Rays are a really good organization. The Yankees are a great organization. And the team with the 3rd most talent that's getting better and better is the Toronto Blue Jays. So now suddenly if you're the Red Sox and you're in the middle of a rebuild here, you've got 3 teams to jump over. Also, Baltimore hit reset on their rebuild a couple of years ago. They can't be terrible forever. That'll eventually turn itself around. The American League East is going to continue to be better and better and better. And this is the other thing I think people lose out on. The Yankees went out and got Gerrit Cole. Every other team in that division made changes.
Yeah.
And will continue to do that because they know they have to keep up with the Yankees. So the Yankees just can't add one pitcher in the offseason and be like, well, our work here is done. Everybody else is doing the same thing with the idea of we got to beat the Yankees.
Yeah.
So the work, there's still a ton of work to be done in this series and going forward. If you look at the way the Yankees are set up and you look at the way Tampa's set up and you look at the way Toronto is set up, right? The advantage the Yankees really have there is, first of all, they can afford guys like Stanton that they could pepper into that lineup that those other teams can't. But they're all built with homegrown talent.
Yep.
They've got excellent pitching. For Toronto, it's still a work in progress, but it's getting there. That's how you build an organization. Boston's process of buying and selling big time contracts, and then I mean that's not sorry, Tyler Bard. I didn't mean to. I actually busted Tyler out on his show, Baseball with the Bard, yesterday, and I actually was telling him that specifically. His Red Sox are in for it. That the other 3 teams in this division right now have got it going on. They've got it figured out, and they've got really good long-term prospects. I wouldn't be shocked if the Blue Jays won the division next year, or if Tampa won the division again next year. Again, the Yankees will probably do it.
What are you talking about?
No. The Yankees will probably do it. What I'm saying is I wouldn't be shocked if Toronto. I wouldn't be shocked if Tampa. I'd be shocked if the Red Sox don't finish in 4th. It's a different kind of shock.
Everybody's making a wild card but us. We're winning the division, Joe. So get that out of your mind. We're planning to win the division next year too. So
we should be. The Yankees should win the division every year, but again, these teams are going to make moves in the offseason to strengthen their position to challenge the Yankees over 162 games. Over 162 games, the Yankees should be better than anybody, especially anybody in this division.
You know, I do question if, you know, with what we had this year, if the MLB will go into next year with a proposal of a shortened season. You know, seeing the success and the intensity that the 60-game season did bring this year, if next year they will entertain the idea of maybe an 100-game season, you know, kind of find a middle ground between 60 and 162, because 162 is a very long marathon, and the 60 games really did give every game a sense of anxiety that's what it needed.
I wish the baseball regular season was 225 games long.
That is ridiculous.
I'm just joking. That's a really arbitrary, made-up number. I guess who here loves baseball more than anything?
I love baseball.
More than anything. More than football.
No, I can't say that. Football's
more than your family.
I'll cheat off.
Here's the difference. So I love baseball. I want my 162 games. I need it every year.
I
understand the allure for a shorter season, but I don't want that.
Okay, so it's personal.
Tyler, 162 or bust.
162 or bust.
I mean, give me 102 games. I think that'd be pretty damn good.
The problem is, this is the problem I would run into with that. Because you already have the problem when you try to compare a Babe Ruth 154-game season to a Barry Bonds 162-game season. All right, already there. What happens when you start doing 102-game seasons? What's a good year? 30 homers?
I see. Yeah, numbers will start changing in value. I get that.
And that would hurt me because I'm a numbers guy. And if the numbers got all weird,
I don't know. That's too big of a change for me, Joe. I'll agree.
I'd just be like in a corner, like in the fetal position until they fixed it is what I would do. I don't know if I could live like that, honestly.
One thing I wanted to ask you guys before we go, I don't know if we're almost done, but it doesn't even matter. Do we want to make some Gerrit Cole line predictions for tonight like we have?
Oh, golly, geez, that went so well last time. Let's do it again. JJ, you want to start?
Sure. I'm going to go 7 with 8 Ks, a walk, maybe 2 hits.
I'm going to go 8 innings. 8 innings, 11 strikeouts, 4 hits, a run, and no walks.
I'm going to go 7 1/3. I think he strikes out 11. I think he gives up 2 runs via a homer and 4 hits. And I think once again, he'll put up a goose egg when it comes to the walk column.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. That feels right.
8 and 2 11s? Okay.
Yeah, that feels good, right?
Okay.
I don't take it. I'll tell you, as that game was unfolding last time, and every time there was another strikeout, you were like, well, I was right. Now it's Lucas. Exactly. Another strikeout. Now you're right. Yeah. That was fun to watch. That much I can tell you for absolute sure. Tyler says 5 runs, 5 innings, 6 strikeouts, 2 walks. Maybe he thought I said Chris Sale was pitching tonight. He's not.
He's not.
Unbelievable, Tyler. Don't try to mess with my podcast because I messed with yours the other day. That's not right. I did. I was messing with him the other day so bad, and he's obviously angry and bitter.
Frustrated Red Sox fans. Can't blame him.
Here's what he said. He wants it on the board, just for the record. So there you go, Tyler, Red Sox fan. It's shameful, but thank you for watching this Yankees podcast.
Yeah.
And make sure you check us out at clovercrestmedia.com. You can start your very own podcast for as low as $15 per month. Full services will just cost you $50. We've got a ton of really great podcasts covering all sorts of sports. We've got true crime. We've got relationships. We've got a little bit of everything. And as I've said once, I'll say it 1,000 times. If you can't find a podcast you like at clovercrestmedia.com, just start your own. That's what a lot of us have done. That's going to do it for us for this episode. I assume we'll be back all throughout the week.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, probably I think we'll just be with you throughout this entire series. Join
the
you
Chronicles of Championship number 28.
You may as well. That's the only way to do it. ClovercrestMedia.com/The Roll Call Podcast. Make sure you check us out on Facebook at The Roll Call Podcast. We're on Twitter as The Roll Call Show and on Instagram at The Roll Call Podcast. So that will do it for this episode. Tonight, Yanks and the Rays, 8 o'clock, Cole and Snell. For Lucas and JJ, I'm Joe Aguirre. We'll catch you next time on The Roll Call Podcast.
Can I get a roll call? Bombers, let's get it on. Hit the field, let's play ball. Come on home, we stand tall. Oh yeah, we back. Oh yeah, we back. 2020 division, Yanks back on the train track. Had to let the chances go, but we welcome in Gerrit Cole. Judge back with the guy, we're bringing Giancarlo up on these corners. Look at the information they gonna K back awesome. Boy in the shell, they on the corners with Torres and LeManu. Seeing Chesto play too. Severino in rotation, packs to throwing K's too. Fully loaded. We got the ALDS wide open. One game at a time, we stay focused. Bronx Bombers on a mission. World Series chasing, taking the division. No time for wasting. Again, first placing.